What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 13, sleepers and studs.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go through each position and give you my top DFS stud and my top DFS sleeper pick. And if you stay to the very end after all my picks and after I show you the Draft Dashboard tools, I'll give you my super secret sleeper pick that no one's talking about. Okay, my NFL Week 13 quarterback stud is going to be Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers playing the New York Giants, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers has averaged 19.2 fantasy points per game on the season. He's had 3 subpar games in a row, only scoring 11, 10, and 13 fantasy points in the last 3 games. But he's projected at 19.7 fantasy points here in Week 13. He's going to be about 10% owned. He's $6,500 DraftKings salary and $1,600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 45 points scored in this game, and they have the Green Bay Packers favored by 6.5. So I think this is a big time bounce back week for Aaron Rodgers. He's got a fantastic matchup, so I like Aaron Rodgers here versus the New York Giants.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal,
All you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
and then we'll send you $100 PayPal.
So it's that easy.
And we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video.
So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, my Week 13 sleeper pick at the quarterback position is Kyle Allen from the Carolina Panthers playing the Washington Redskins, who have the 11th worst defense overall and give up the 13th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Kyle Allen has averaged 14.9 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 23 fantasy points last week, and he's only going to be about 2% owned. Projected at 16.6 fantasy points here in Week 13. You're hoping for at least 20 fantasy points out of him. He's $5,500 DraftKings salary and $1,700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 39.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Carolina Panthers favored by 10. So this is a home game, a pretty good matchup. Kyle Allen has been heating up, so I like Kyle Allen here versus the Washington Redskins. Okay guys, if you're getting any value from this video, please hit that red subscribe button. We put out new fantasy football videos every day. So if you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification, you won't miss out on any of our new fantasy football videos. Tons of free stuff coming your way. It only takes a second, and it helps us push out more fantasy football content for you guys to consume each and every day. It's because of you subscribers that make this possible. So thank you for supporting this channel. Okay, my Week 13 running back stud is Leonard Fournette from the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have the 3rd worst defense overall. And although they're pretty good against opposing running backs, Leonard Fournette has averaged 19.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 18.7 rush attempts per game and 6.4 pass targets per game. He scored 37 fantasy points last week off of 24 rush attempts and 12 pass targets. So he's getting a ton of volume on the ground and through the air. He's going to be about 24% owned, on the field for 88% of the snaps, projected at 19 fantasy points here in Week 13. He's $7,500 DraftKings salary and $100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 47.5 points scored in this game, and it's going to be a close game. they have the Jacksonville Jaguars trailing by 1. So this is a home game, a good overall defensive matchup. So I like Leonard Fournette here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. In my Week 13 running back sleeper pick is Austin Ekeler from the LA Chargers playing the Denver Broncos, who have the 6th best defense overall and they're middle of the pack defending opposing running backs. Austin Ekeler has averaged 20.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.6 rush attempts per game and 6.7 pass targets per game. He scored 24, 13, and 13 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He scored 24 fantasy points last week off of 5 rush attempts and 12 pass targets. So the pass target volume is encouraging here, and he's only going to be about 2% owned. Projected at 13.1 fantasy points here in Week 13. He's $5,700 DraftKings salary and $1,000 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 38.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Chargers favored by 3. So I like Austin Ekeler here versus the Denver Broncos. Okay, my NFL Week 13 wide receiver stud is Mike Evans from the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the 13th worst defense overall and they're middle of the pack defending opposing wide receivers. Mike Evans has averaged 19.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.6 pass targets per game. He's only been scoring around 10 fantasy points the last 3 weeks, so he's due for a breakout game, getting a ton of pass targets every game. He's going to be about 18% owned. He's on the field for 90% of the snaps, projected at 17 fantasy points here in Week 13. He's $6,900 DraftKings salary and $800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 47.5 points scored in this game. They have the Bucks favored by 1, so I like Mike Evans here versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. In my Week 13 wide receiver sleeper pick is Terry McLaurin from the Washington Redskins playing the Carolina Panthers, who have the 9th worst defense overall, and they give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Terry McLaurin has averaged 14 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.8 pass targets per game. He got 12 pass targets last game, only managed to put up 12 fantasy points, but he's got huge upside at that volume. He's only going to be about 1% owned, on the field for 95% of the snaps, projected at 11.8 fantasy points here in Week 13. He's only $5,600 DraftKings salary and $200 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 39.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Washington Redskins trailing by 10. So this is a passing game script for the Washington Redskins. Terry McLaurin should get a ton of pass targets in this game. It's a great matchup. So I like Terry McLaurin here versus the Carolina Panthers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL, and you can try the tools for NBA. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, moving on to the tight end position. My NFL Week 13 tight end stud is Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Oakland Raiders, who have the 5th worst defense overall, and they give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Travis Kelce has averaged 15.8 fantasy points per game on the season. He's finally had a couple of big games scoring 22 and 21 fantasy points in the last 2 games. He gets 8.3 pass targets on average per game. He got 10 pass targets last game, and he's going to be about 13% owned, on the field for 92% of the snaps, projected at 16.8 fantasy points here in week 13. He's 7,200 DraftKings salary and 100 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 51 points scored in this game. They have the Kansas City Chiefs favored by 10. This is a home game, a fantastic matchup, a high-scoring game. So I like Travis Kelce here versus the Oakland Raiders. Okay, my week 13 tight end sleeper pick is Greg Olson from the Carolina Panthers playing the Washington Redskins, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Greg Olson has averaged 10.3 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 9, 11, and 18 fantasy points in the last 3 games, getting an average of 6.2 pass targets per game. He got 7 pass targets last game, and he's only going to be about 2% owned, on the field for 91% of the snaps, projected at 10 fantasy points here in week 13. He's 4,400 DraftKings salary and 700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 39.5 points scored in this game. They've got the Panthers favored by 10. This is a home game, a great matchup, so I like Greg Olson here versus the Washington Redskins.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. You've unlocked the bonus content.
Okay, my NFL Week 13 sleeper pick is Brandon Cooks from the LA Rams playing the Arizona Cardinals, who have the absolute worst defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Brandon Cooks has averaged 9.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.4 pass targets per game, and he gets 1 rush attempt per game, projected at 3% owned, on the field for 78% of the snaps. He's projected at 11.5 fantasy points here in week 13. He's 5,200 DraftKings salary and 1,500 more on FanDuel. So I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 47.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Rams favored by 3. So this is a high-scoring game, a fantastic matchup. I think Brandon Cooks has a breakout week, so I like Brandon Cooks here versus the Arizona Cardinals.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.
Do you want more fantasy football picks? Check out the video linked right in the middle of the screen. If you got any value from this video, please tap that subscribe button before you get out of here and ring that bell notification so you won't miss our daily fantasy football uploads. We're putting out new videos every day, so I don't want you guys to miss any of our free content.